What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? You are tuned in to the Antidote with Doc Scott, King Troy, and our very special guest, My apologies,
It's all good.
Mister Brandarius Johnson. How's it going?
How you doing? How you doing?
Doing mighty fine, mighty fine. Thank you for
Thank you.
gracing us with your presence.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. The pleasure is mine.
So tell us, who is Mister Brandarius Johnson?
All right. Brandarius Johnson, founder of Day One Ambition, author of the book Mental Hope, a man with a burning desire to, encourage others, spread love, and give back. I'm just on a mission to encourage other people by ways of hope. And hope to me means helping other people evolve. So that's who I am. I've taken my trials, my tribulations, all of the lessons and experiences I've had, and put together a message, um, of resiliency, of hope, of faith, of believing, of ambition, consistency, and everything else. Okay.
That's dope. That's dope. And I see you sporting your brand, right?
All the time.
So what tell us about the meaning behind it.
So Day One Ambition was founded in 2014. And the concept is really broad, but it's so simple. Day One Ambition to me came to me sitting in school, sitting in college, where there's people that were old enough to be my parents. And, you always hear people say, do it while you're young, or I'm old and I have no time. That was one of the things that inspired it. Also, people who are in relationships where they're not happy and they say, well, I'm just doing it for my kids, or I'm just doing it because we've been together so long.
Right.
That was another thing that inspired it. And then one of the last things that really like spoke to me was the people who are working jobs who are not happy. People who get up and go to jobs who are miserable and get sucked into the complacency of just being there because they got a check coming in. And in my mind, I was like, man, Day One Ambition. Like, if you don't have the same fire and passion you had on day one for whatever it is you're doing, or whoever the person is you're with, or even who you are, looking in the mirror, then it's time to go back to who you were, that person is or was on day one. And that's where the concept Day One Ambition came from. And then I had an experience in 2014, June 27th to be exact, where I lost a very close friend to suicide. And that's kind of where, it nudged me really to just go forth and push forward with this message and concept. So the concept, every day is day one, came alive that day when I found out that news that, I'd lost a very close person to suicide. And my reason for that, for every day is day one, was I realized yesterday was gone. It was never coming back. And tomorrow, at that moment, I didn't know if there's going to be a tomorrow for me.
Right.
So I put it all together. And here we are 8 years later with a brand and a foundation where others have taken my personal philosophy and kind of applied it to their own lives in their own ways, as a beacon of hope and resilience. And, I tell people it wasn't really just about a brand initially. It was a concept that I was clinging to. It was my bootstraps. It kept me up. It gave me a reason to hope. And it still hasn't been 100% easy having this resource where people, come to for hope. So that's what makes it real and makes it relatable. I'm not immune to mental illness or depression or any of the things that I'm advocating for.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it not just a brand, but it's a lifestyle, and it's a movement, it's a foundation, it's a real live ministry. So, that's where it came from. And then specifically this concept right here, as you know, me and you, we got a history of working in youth corrections. After that, I worked in foster care and then in mental health. And, I read a suicide note from a 12-year-old girl that kind of expressed, that she was kind of tired of living. Things were going on with her family. Pops was being deported. And she internalized those experiences and felt the burden of it. And I read that suicide note and I said to myself, there has to be a way I can communicate to every person in the world that they have a purpose, regardless of where they come from, what they look like, what they have or don't have. And the concept that transpired within me was the world wouldn't spin the same without you. And then, one thing led to another. By the grace of God, it became, like I said, more than just a shirt. It's a creed. It's a statement of purpose to every person in the world. And I feel it's culturally responsive and timeless.
Yeah,
So
that's powerful. Welcome, Dr. Scott.
I
Dr. Scott, how
apologize.
you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. My computer crashed. Technical issues when you are working abroad, or not abroad, but remotely. Good
Yes,
morning,
sir.
my co-host King Troy and our guest Brandarius Johnson. It's a blessing to have you in studio with us this morning.
Man, it's a blessing to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
I recently saw a video. This was probably about a week or two prior to today, where you were speaking at a church,
Uh-huh.
and for me it was very impactful
Mhm.
because in the Black community, mental health isn't something that's really discussed specifically in churches.
Right.
It's you feel depressed or you feel sad, Jesus will fix it.
100%.
And we know he can fix everything, but
Yeah.
he also provides people
Yeah.
to help as well.
Amen.
And like I've suffered from depression for probably about 20 years. And it wasn't until, I started seeking help that my mindset kind of shifted from,
Mhm.
Jesus can fix it,
Yeah.
but he also put people in your path,
Yeah.
doctors and therapists.
Right.
And so when I seen that video, I was like, dang, like that's truly what's needed.
Yeah.
Like we need to discuss it. We need to advocate for, everybody to see a therapist.
For sure.
Even if everything going great, still see a
For
therapist.
sure.
Yeah. So what is some of the work that you've been doing in, because I know it's not just mental health,
Yeah.
but it's also been physical health as well.
Yeah. So even before I go into that, just speak on the statement you just made regarding the church atmosphere and being Black, and it's those are real barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with myself, and even like being even more intentional with how we refer to things, like you suffering with depression, man, just going through therapy myself, they say you're not suffering with anything, you experiencing depression.
That's true.
But it's your feelings are very valid. So I
Mhm.
can't say you're not suffering with it. All I can try to do is give you the perspective that was given to me when I said it.
Mhm.
And I think that's where not just the Black community, but we can only talk from our lived experience. Our community has that where they're only looking from what they feel about the subject of mental illness.
Mhm.
And I've grown through these phases and I guess gained this wisdom only because I've had to live in a place where expressing it to the closest people around you and them not understanding how it works, only thing they can tell you is pray about it.
Mhm.
Whereas I'm having those real life situations where, I can tell the people around me it's deeper than just praying for it sometimes. Because though we know God is a healer and provider, you still go to the doctor and get annual checkups.
Right.
Right. And then so it's like, there's nothing wrong with having your faith and being a follower. Ain't nothing wrong with going to the doctor and getting help.
Mhm.
Your car break down, you take it to a shop. You're not going outside to pray over what's going on with your car. You might pray for strength and guidance through the situation, but at the end of the day, you're gonna go to a shop. And that's the message that I'm trying to push with everybody. And to go back to, what you said, what I've been up to, and this being bigger than mental health. It is. I want the brand to be for just all means of spreading hope.
Mhm.
And that's why I say by ways of encouraging growth, spreading love, and giving back. But my calling to this was through mental health, was through experiencing suicide. And I think it goes right into entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
But I'm not just the one that's out to aspire to make a living. I think Les Brown said, I aspire to make a difference. And if I can do that through my giving, if I can do that through social entrepreneurship, by all means, that's what I feel like God has given me the platform and means to do so. And it comes down to, before we can manage a business, we must first manage ourselves.
Mm.
And those are things that I've had to sit and do. And like, to be here on this talk with y'all on this mic, this is organically. There's no script. Like, I can talk about this for years because I've been talking about it for years, even in the comfort of my home when no one is around. I believed in it enough. I seen it. And, it's ironic enough, I was talking about this before I left my house this morning. Just, if you've ever gone out to eat and you finish your meal and it was everything from start to finish. First bite, it was everything you imagine. And you get to the counter and they tell you it's already been covered. We shocked, like, what? You might find out who it was that covered that, who initiated that kind gesture, and you may not, but the significance is it's already covered. So I feel like that's where I'm at in my life with things that I've allowed to consume my mind with, anxiety and intrusive thoughts and depression and, not being able to trust the people that love me, just really in my own mind until I realized God is saying, you know what, you already covered. What about things that are already taken care of when you get to the point of execution? And I feel like right now, this energy I feel is so authentic because when you don't got to worry about nothing but what you feel you called to do, and it's off to the races. And that came through seeking and surrendering and, experiencing suicide. And, people will go into the Bible and always talk about what they can back up or stand on. For example, everybody know what it says in the Bible about suicide. There are people that came to me and said, oh, well, such and such is coming to me in my dreams and saying that she feels hot. And before I even engage, like, hey, stop where you are. You don't got to tell me that, she went to hell or heaven. It's not really your business. But those are things that I had to live through and learn and how to hold my tongue. It was other areas in my life where I hadn't quite figured out how to hold my tongue. And that caused me more mental anguish because you're so busy trying to control everything and you want it your way, when in reality it's already covered.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy, man. I'm happy. It's not just a brand. It's not just a shirt. It's my life. It's who God called me on this earth to be. And it took me 29 years to really get into the word for me to be able to have the courage to get on that mic and give, that testimony and prayer that I did. And even within, I'm noticing when you declare something, you attract things. It's not going to always be positive energy. You attract negativity, and you hear people say you reap what you sow. That's true, but you also reap the things that you don't sow. And just being human, we remind people of sometimes people that didn't do them so right, or how always have the best intentions, and you never know what part of a person you're going to get. So I'm learning from where I'm at to just try not to see flesh, try not to see actions, but try to see the person for who they are and separate them from what they're displaying. And it's not easy to do, but again, we don't have to worry about everything else, right? That's a calling and an assignment I got from God. And that's what I'm working on every day, being intentional with my family. That's why I was saying I got to bring my granddad. Like, it meant everything to have him here with me. So, he can see what I'm working on. I've been talking to him about it for years. He's watched me grow up and go through transitions in my life, watched me going from being a below average student to excelling through college and then getting a scholarship, but still fighting with the emptiness, And I brought my book, if you can see, Mental Hope. He has a whole chapter in there called My Granddad Told Me. So it's like I get to sit with my granddad and talk about all the things he told me and how his words are changing the world. My granddad always say, B, I got a 7th grade education. And it's like, yeah, but you have far more wisdom than that any school can give you. It's the school of life of hard knocks. And that's how we here, bro. And it's a blessing and an honor, man.
Yeah. And that's so, like, it's awesome, about your grandfather supporting you. And I'm pretty sure, he's telling you like I'm proud of you, and I can probably speak for, Doc Scott, we wish we had that. Yeah. So to see it, like, it's amazing, especially in the Black community.
Yeah, sure.
Because I feel like we don't support us enough. Yeah. Especially, Black fathers don't support, their sons. They don't really, for the most part, it's some exceptions, but we don't raise our children to be kings and queens. Yeah. We don't raise them to be all that they can be.
Right.
And so just to see, everything that's been poured into you and coming to fruition is just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perspective shift. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you a question because I have followed you probably for the last 2 years. And I remember when I initially sat down with you in Starbucks and we had a conversation, and just to see where you were at that time, which was good, to even see where you are now. I'm so proud of you. And so when I was speaking to Troy, who also does our productions for us, I said, I want to do something different for Black History Month. I said, I want to love on some of the people who just get missed in the community. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you've made your mark, but I think sometimes we get so caught up in, the corporations and the nonprofits that are doing this, that, and the other. We don't take the time to look at the people who are in the community with a true grassroots effort, who are out there for that common person who may not want to be in the spotlight, but we're still pushing them to be great in whatever it is that they do. So I was elated when I reached out to you and I told you what my vision was and what I was trying to do. And you said, absolutely. And there's a place for everybody in the community. And I really feel like you're a catalyst to reaching our youth, to letting them know that we do encounter certain things during our life's journey, but we are never our circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And that's so important to pour into our young people, because, they will forever take for granted the fact that we are now going into a third year of a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Life has changed for the world. We are at a new normal. So it's important that as things change within society, that we make the adjustments that are needed to reach the people that we need to reach. And I think you're doing an excellent job in doing that.
Man, I appreciate that 100%. Appreciate the opportunity and the acknowledgement. And I appreciate the work that you all are doing as well. And I always say it takes a village, and each of us needs all of us.
So what are some of the challenges that you find in the community?
To be honest, man, I think for one, there's many challenges. There's challenges of oppression on the global scale, and then there's individuals. And what I mean is, we just talked about like pushing and advocating for mental health, mental illness. In our community, we get that resistance. When we're trying to go out in the community and elevate ourselves, sometimes through institutions of higher education or better chances of employment, we already know the inequities that are there. Those are challenges. So, and I've experienced them both. So the challenge is like you're told to go to school, to be a contributing member of society, to get your education, just to grow up and be like, wow, it's not even the system that's causing this. It's the people that's in the system.
Absolutely.
And then like Nip said, you're a genius, but you can't claim it. Like I felt like that. I'm like, man, I got all this passion, all these projects, all these concepts, but I'm against quote unquote giants. But hey, I said quote unquote because today I realized ain't no giant. The only giant is God. And I'm leading with the energy that I feel, and that's going to open up every door that I'm supposed to walk through. And I sit back and I ask myself, the challenges are really internal, because there's no weapon out there that's forming that should be able to stop me if I'm trusting, if I'm wearing my shield. And I feel so strong right now in this moment. But when I leave here, who knows? I might let the energy kind of take away from what I'm feeling now. But what I'm saying is, there ain't no challenges. All we have to do is make adjustments through the obstacles. And to answer your question, I feel like a lot of people in the world, or even in Vegas in our community, they are the way they are because of experiences they've had. If you've never had nobody support you or acknowledge you and validate what you're doing, it's hard for you to take your vision, your passion, and your aspirations and align with somebody else and trust that they have a betterment for what you're doing.
Right.
So it's like it's a lack of trust. If you look at like all the disparities in healthcare, colorized medicine, where we're not really being treated for our symptoms, they looking at us like, nah, you strong, you black, you should be able to deal with this. You got a higher pain tolerance. It's like those are the things that we're up against. And again, it's not really the system, it's the people who facilitate the system. Way back when it was created that this is how we're going to judge and treat people, that's when this stuff was set into place. And now we doing double the work to try to make it to where we can trust one another. Think about it. with the pandemic and the mandate and all the resistance we have, like whether we take it or whether we don't, we have people of color who vouching for it, who are doctors who say this is the research. It's still hard for the people to trust it.
Right.
We have, you know, African American Black people working in law enforcement. We still get resistance from the Black and African American community. Why? Because they're looking at the system, and now they think everybody that's a part of it, every person that's a part of it, is also, you know, a bad apple. And you know, Troy, you worked in youth corrections. You know your intentions were pure. But however, some of those kids still call you a sellout or a pig or a cop. So when I talk about the challenges, is really every person being able to maybe get outside of their own beliefs, of their own head, their own mental prison, their own anxiety and depression, and really look at the cause in totality. And that's what I'm doing with my mission. You know, I say there's a room for everybody. There's a shirt, a jersey for everybody in the world that want to be a part of what I'm doing, because it's bigger than me. I don't matter what language you speak. I don't matter how much money you got. All I want to know is what's in your heart. And if your heart is in the right place, then you're in the right place for me.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've seen people shy away from what I'm doing. I've seen people try to go and mimic and do what I'm doing. I've seen people come to me with plans and then get somebody else with a bigger status and fall off. And, hey, I'm going to go this way. And it mentioned competition. Like, I'm not in competition with nobody. I'm going to stand firm on what I believe in. And I was listening to, I think it could have been Steve Jobs. I could be wrong, so don't quote me. He said those people who believe they can change the world actually change the world because they believed it. And I believe I can do it. I believe I will do it. I believe my message. I believe the interactions with people. It's all authentic. And that's what I'm honoring. So when you look at that in the grand scheme of saving lives and advocating, of course, I give all the glory to God, but there ain't nothing that can come against that.
Two questions I wanted to ask you, because
yes, sir.
You touched on something that we've been talking about. The first thing is when you say the oppressions that are created or that exist within the Black community. I've never heard somebody else say that. So my question to you is, do you feel that the African American community has become complacent in operating in a mindset of oppression, and they've been conditioned to accept the system as it is, therefore not having any change?
Now, to be honest, I just think everybody is overwhelmed, hurt, a lack of trust, lack of guidance. And you already know when you get overwhelmed, man, you it's almost like you just ate the biggest meal of your life. You lay down, you're like, I'm good. I can't move. And, you know, I can only speak from experience. You get tired, you get burnt out. And, you know, I listened to Les Brown, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he said, you know how hard it was to get up and tell people you can live your dream when I was homeless? You know, but he had to do it because that's what he believed in. But to come back to our life and our community, everybody don't have the aspirations to really change their life, save the world. You get distracted by life, and you get lost, and you get hurt, and you get lost in just the daily grind of paying your bills, and it's hard, man. So I try not to say that we're complacent. I just realize it's hard. And then you look at the people who are single parents having to work 2 jobs, get hurt, you know, paying medication. That medication slows you down. Now, you know, you don't have as much energy to move around. You're not going to the gym. You're not eating the best because you're working so much. You're in transit 16 hours a day, plus your commute for work. You're not seeing your kids as much. And it's not like you're going to work 2 jobs for a couple months. Some people end up working 2 jobs as long as their kids are in grade school. You don't get those years back. Now you upset and you hurt because you missed out on so much. So it's like, is it complacency, or you just being kicked down so far and you feel so far back that you just accept that this is where I am, and this is my life? And that's why I'm so keen on like minimalism. Like, I used to be driven by shoes and clothes and having the best of everything, which, don't get me wrong, I like nice things, but they don't drive me or move me. I don't want the nice things just for myself. I want to give those experiences to the best. I mean, not the best. I mean, all people around me, the best of experiences. always joke around and say I'm going to Dubai and I'm gonna eat cheese and grapes. And I was a little bit, and I was a little bit younger. That message, I'm gonna have a girl on each side of me, one feeding me cheese and one feeding me grapes. But I've grown now. The message, the vision is still the same. I want to go to Dubai. I don't need 2 women though. But just, I write a lot, and I wrote I said on the jet for the people that stay with me, pepper steak on the plate. For verbatim, but just the concept is we eating steaks now. Everybody that stay committed to the journey, it's not just about me. Everybody play a part, and it's been a hard journey to even transition to where I'm at now with this. And you go back to that word complacency. It's like, I don't think we're complacent. We just beat up. Like, it's scary.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I know even with the work that I do in the community, there's certain things that drive me. I look to have not necessarily recognition, but a reaction out of a certain group of people or a certain demographic to keep me going. So what actually drives you with everything that comes up against you? The haters, the people who are trying to duplicate what you do, people who are kicking you down. What keeps you going as far as the work that you do in the community? What drives Brandarius?
Man, like I said, the concept of knowing that it's way bigger than me. And, if I can make it any more clear, sometimes people want to talk statistics in the educational world. Like studies say that X amount of people have died by suicide. And I'd be like, well, I don't even got to get into the statistics. I know one person died from it, and that's more than enough. So just the fact that people are out here hurting, that's more than enough reason for me to keep going. And knowing that, like, what I'm really driven by, to be honest with y'all, to be 100% transparent, it's those moments where I felt like I was by myself in this world, surrounded by my folks, surrounded by friends, even what, some people look at as success. Like, I've been in places where I have everything that I prayed for, and there was still this dark cloud, this complete emptiness that I couldn't feel. That's what drove me, because I'm like, man, I know if I'm feeling like this, somebody else feeling like this. And that's it right there. And even in my darkest moments, like I can call my folks and be like, yo, I'm struggling right now. Like, I'm really, really struggling, not doing well, not thinking well. Not everybody really understand it. But that's like, my evidence. When people say, they looking for evidence-based programs, that was me getting my research in. So when people say, what gives you your validation, or how do you know it works? Because I've sat in the pits of darkness and felt the emptiness, and it was hope that got me out. The message, like, if I go in my inbox right now, I got messages from people from all walks of life. Just in the last 24 hours, come like, yo, B, I'm going through this. Can you? And it's all love, like a hotline. Call my phone. It ain't about no grant money. It ain't about no scholarship. It ain't about no acknowledgement. It's just like, God put this on my life, and this is what I'm gonna do. Another issue, a challenge. I'll give you a challenge. I know I spoke earlier saying there was no challenges, but was being who I am in this role and being at 110%. Like, I wrap my truck, and I've honestly been, I've had my shirts go global, and this whole time I never looked at myself like a public figure. I never looked at myself as nothing other than just a man on a mission. But people see me and perceive me as they wish, and that was their opinion. And they have the opportunity to do that. But it was hard for me to decipher between who was doing their best to acknowledge me and let me know they appreciate what I'm doing or congratulate me. But it comes off sometimes as, I want to be like you when I grow up, or Big Shot, or Mr. Brand, Mr. 100 Miles. A lot of those things start playing in my mind. It's like, oh man, you hating. And it built a wall around me to where I couldn't really trust nobody. And I had to take a step back and like, well, maybe that was that person. Only way of communicating that they see you and they appreciate what you're doing. And to touch back, wrap that up with where we talked about having my grandfather and not having a lot of black males in the home of their families. I had another guy that he was a therapist that I just, I met at the gym. He told me one day, like, B, you got a lot of potential. I can feel your energy, but you battling something dark. And I'm like, what? You don't even know me left from right. But he was so spot on, and he got real close, and he's like, listen, the ocean is beautiful, but the waves can be violent and dangerous. I'm like, right. He said, so how do you beat them? And I said, man, you got to go under. He said, "You're right. You got to go deeper." And in that moment, that message was me accepting where my father was in my life and where I thought he should be and what I expected from him. He said, "B, you got to go deeper than everything that's hurting you to miss the waves." And then he said, if your dad only had 99 cents, you needed $1, you can't be mad at him. You got to take that 99 cents and you get that extra penny from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And that's the concepts that I've kept with me as far as any opposition or anything against me in this lane that I'm in. Like every challenge is just, for lack of better words, an opportunity to make an adjustment. Mm-hmm. And now I have, moments that drove me to complete crisis where I could have ruined my whole life and everything I'm advocating for. Now I got a pastor I talk to regularly. I have a brand strategist. Johnny Williams is a pillar in my journey, and a therapist that I see. I realize, like, you look at some of the best athletes in the world, not even just the best, just anybody who made it to a certain level of professionalism where a lot of money is involved and notoriety. The wisest ones have wise counsel around them. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've done to myself. Put a team of people around me. My grandfather, we talk just about every day, even if it ain't nothing more than the check-in. How you doing? I'm good. And I've become intentional about telling everybody around me I love them, because for the longest we didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, when people talk about generational curses, to me it's like it's not even really a curse. It's just a generational limitation. Like, this is where they went. It's up to you to take it.
Right.
I know my generation is so big on not working 9 to 5s, being entrepreneurships, blaming they folks for what has happened. Listen, that's yesterday's news. Today is day one. What you gonna do? Mm-hmm. And it don't mean we don't acknowledge what we've been through and the things that hurt us. It's just like, man, you got to make a solution. Like, I've been through so many things in my life, injuries, cancer scares, bone marrows, jaw surgeries, like been hit by a car, like you name it. And every situation I encountered where I thought was the toughest time of my life, look back like, man, that was crazy. I was really hurt, crying behind that, not knowing if I was coming or going. It all made me who I am today. It all gave me the evidence to sit down and research and go get information on who else has felt like this. What can I do with this? How can I communicate that you can look over this? And it comes down to hope and resilience and consistency. Every day is day one.
And that's key because, you spoke on something. A lot of people see the result, but they don't realize the process that it took to get that result.
100%.
And, a lot of people, especially, kids we used to work with, they just want the result.
Yeah.
They don't want to take the process.
Yeah.
They just want the result. But like it's like the work you do is very powerful. And we appreciate you for it because it's really needed.
I appreciate
that. I remember seeing you on the news too.
Yeah.
Doing your run.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So man, I'm also learning with advocating. It's another way of marketing and promoting something. Mm-hmm. So, it was really out of curiosity. One day I was just on YouTube, like looking up marketing campaigns and tactics. So I don't know if you're familiar with the brand Hundreds out of LA. Mm-mm. So it's one of the, one of the most notable known brands out of LA for the sneakerhead community. The owner of it, the CEO, went into one of the stores, I believe on Rodeo, and it's like, I want to talk to your purchasing manager. And when he came, he was like, yo, I'm the CEO of the brand Hundreds. And the dude was like, I never heard of you. And he was like, what do you mean? This is the hottest brand in LA. If this is the hottest store, how could you not? Mm-hmm. So he was like, I want a spot on consignment. And they was like, okay, they gave him the spot. And then dude went back to his buddies and he pretty much gave him all the money to go buy the shirts. So when he went back, all nonchalantly, the purchasing manager was like, yo, the shirt sold out. We need more. And it was that I was like, dang, that's really how he did. He finessed his way to the top. And the brand blew up. The store pretty much promoted it, I believe. You can go check out the video. But what I took from that was I took my whirlwind spinning saying without your hoodies, and I went to Walmart and I put them on the shelf and took a picture. I was like, shout out to Walmart for giving me an opportunity. And then in the fine print of the post, I put, before you go to Walmart, call me so I can bring your size. But people don't read. And the thing, it went, I believe it went viral. It would have went viral probably on a global scale, but I deleted it because of the amount of traction and engagement. And there's people sending me messages like, telling me I can get sued. And then I think it became more discouraging than encouraging when I seen the amount of people that rushed in to support and so proud and calling me crying. Well, I'm like, man, I've been doing this for 5 years. At the time, like, I'm 5 years in. You ain't never mentioned the shirt or buying or how proud you are. So it was like, man, it was a detriment in that moment. But I just know I realized in that moment, like, regardless of how empowering or passionate this brand was, I had to figure out how to engage people. And that's where the run came from. I was an avid runner already. I was running anywhere between 3 to 6 miles a day.
I'll call you back.
And then I just like, you know what? I'm gonna do a run. And it was nothing more than that. Like, I didn't have any big major plans for it. I saw that that was like these long distance runs or marathons or things that people typically did. It was a great way to get people engaged. But I shared it with one friend, and he happened to have a connection with a former news reporter. And he's like, you got to write a press release. So I was like, all right, cool. And it was just so divine how things came together. I did it September 11th of 2020. It was like on the 7th that I was talking to my buddy about it. Then I believe the next day on the 8th, I got a message from somebody in Cali like, yo, we want to do an interview with you. So I'm like, we're gonna make this thing all the way 100. So went to California, brought my videographer, shot a video running, ended up being at the HBO headquarters. And I'm just telling you the whole story, just how it all came together. So we did that. That was mind blowing. Then, got back to Las Vegas. I was still a little bit timid about the press release. I made it back to Vegas, I believe, September 10th. I was standing in I think Famous Footwear buying some Asics. So I thought I was gonna get a contract from Asics. So really in this element, like, yeah, I'm somebody. I just went and did this interview at the HBO headquarters. I'm looking at the press release like, yo, this is real. And the guy was like, yo, send this out no later than 8 p.m. And I sent it out. The next morning I show up. I'm like, I don't see anybody. It was just a couple of my folks that I went to school with. I'm like, I don't see no news reporter. And then boom, I know they just showed up 3 stations. So I'm like, uh-oh, this is real. This is real. And then I did the run. They released the story, and then 10 days we engaged 40,000 people.
Oh wow!
And there were some people that contacted me like, I love what you're raising money for. And that morning, I'm just like, show me where you see a link. And I did it like that because, like I said, it's my research for the last 8 years. Now at this point, everything that I've done has been like research, really on my own dollar, testing my own passion. Because I've heard when you find what you love to do, you'll do it, whether somebody paying you or not. And that's one of the things that I've kind of honed in on. My granddad always say, build it and the people will come. That's another thing that I honed in on. And now we're at the point where this thing is built and ready to run globally. So that concept of the Run for Hope Vegas is like, it's a global concept. And that's one of the things that I always did in my mind was anything that I create, I want it to be relevant, timeless, culturally responsive. So, the Run for Hope Las Vegas, Run for Hope Africa, Run for Hope Chicago, Run for Hope whatever, and that's what it came down to. I didn't get to do the run in 2021 because I got hit by a car, but no weapon formed shall prosper. So we went ahead and activated the walk and talks after that, where for a year we met up at Sunset Park through the pandemic and gave people the opportunity to come out, get out the house, connect. We received some congressional recognition from Susie Lee's campaign. I was fortunate to receive another letter of congressional recognition from Horsford's campaign just for mentoring, and Miss Tamika Henry and Consina Boone from the Tulips. They acknowledge and support it. It's been a lot of great support from everywhere.
And Miss Tamika Henry says she's proud of the work you're doing.
Oh man, that's my folks right there. I appreciate Miss Henry. It's funny, I met her when I was doing the run. Like, she was in her campaign. I'm running. She pulled up, showed support, rolled down the window. It was like, yo, this is real. And that's what really made me like realize in my head, though I'm not like driven by the business part of this, I knew I had to make a transition and set up the infrastructure, because if not, then the message will die. And then when I got hit by the car, I I just realized, man, I don't have no estate set up, nobody to keep the torch going if I drop. And that right there lit a flame under me, you know. And business has taught me, like, just through this movement, reaching out is deeper than just when you're in a crisis or when you need help. It's anytime where you don't have the information that you need. And I know, going back to education, I was a kid, I couldn't see well, so I was probably embarrassed about that. I sat in the back. If I couldn't see the board, I'm behind now. I want to ask a question and deal with whatever comes with that. So I really didn't take advantage of education until I got to college. Whereas now some people are like, man, you ask too many questions. Like, ain't no such thing. If I need to know something, I'm going to ask.
Absolutely.
And that's the mindset that I carried when I was in college. Like, it could be 50 students in here, but I'm feeling like it's only me and that professor. And now in life, I feel like I don't care who's around. If I got to say something to get it off my chest, I'm going to do it. And if I'm learning now to choose my battles wisely, and if I don't feel like I need to speak on certain things, if it don't really, benefit too much, my lane, then I'll let bygones be bygones. But I've learned all of these things just through the journey of advocating and connecting with people.
So let me ask you a question. What does the future look like for Brandarius? Are there any political aspirations? Are there more books coming out? What's on the horizon for you?
Man, I'm happy you asked that. What's next for Brandarius and Day One Ambition? I'm working, and I don't want to talk too much about what we planning before it's done, because I believe in showing.
We can put it in the atmosphere.
I don't mean like to not answer the question. I'm just saying, like, typically I was always told to show what you're doing opposed to tell, because I'm creative. I have 1,000 ideas, but just trying to scale it back in and create something that people can follow. So since you asked, February 28th, that's my granddad's birthday. We just lost my grandmother in December. So, like, while he's around, I'm being intentional with letting him know the impact he had on my life. So he has his own chapter in my book. My granddad told me we actively right now taking auditions for the audio book. We got presenters coming in. That's going to be dropping real soon. The campaign, the Be the Hope campaign movement, dropping, releasing on the 28th, where we activate our global initiative to have chapters of hope influencers and ambassadors across the world to help us pollinate this message of helping other people evolve. Activating the nonprofit, bringing on people to help us facilitate all the programming, from giving shoes to giving a platform for others to express themselves. I got, Day One Ambition Printing that handles merchandise for schools. Also, it's an opportunity to employ others. And everything that we're doing is inclusive. Like, it sounds like a lot, but everything is connected to the base of helping other people evolve. And we have the national campaign, Wrapped in Hope. That's where people can find me right now, wrappedinhope.com. I'm Be the Hope. That's where, my name is Brand. Some people call me B, but more recently, people have called me the Hope and looked at me as the Hope. So now it's like, it makes sense. God, I see what you did. I'm Be the Hope. And the campaign is Be the Hope. That's me telling everybody to be the hope. That's a call to action. Whereas the world wouldn't spin the same without you is a statement of purpose. And the whole Be the Hope came from, being an athlete. Coach always say, if you're positioned to make a play, do it. Don't stand around and wait and hope somebody else do it. That's what hope means to me. Like, if there's something that can be done, if I can do it, I'm going to take care of it. Be dependable. And hope is also big. Hope is freedom. Hope is peace. Hope is strength. Hope is believing that you have a chance. And that's the message that I want to drive to the world. And I want hope to resonate with people in a way that's beneficial for them. And we looking to engage in partnerships where this same concept right here, the world won't spin the same without you. I have a worksheet where, it allows people the opportunity to express themselves without judgment. And then, for schools, churches, organizations, anybody who wish to, bring in the Wrapped in Hope campaign, this becomes the uniform for them. It also becomes a platform of others to raise money for something that's powerful. I call it wearable awareness. And we have all of these different brands in the country, in the world that are already doing it. What's different than what we're doing it? And it's just understanding that we're a ground roots powerhouse with global aspirations. And that's been my mindset, to act local and think global. With everything that I did in Vegas, we could do around the world.
Right.
And highlighting other people like y'all, Be the Hope. we don't have the shirts ready yet, but that's what I want to do. Like, yo, highlight everybody, be intentional. Like, this is my form of roses. Put the shirt on and understand there's a million positive reasons why you're wearing it and why I want you to put it on and share the message with the people around you and bringing people who I call it he hope and she hopes. Those are the mentors, and hope, like I said, means helping other people evolve. So for that concept, she hopes, she aspires to help other people evolve. He hope is one that aspires to help other people evolve. We got a room for you. We got a spot for you in the circle of hope. That's what's coming, and getting ready to activate these things really, really fast.
So this mission is not only local. You're looking for it to go global, and as a global initiative. So my question to you is, and for the listening audience out there, how can they get involved with the movement? How do they contact you? How do they get a shirt? How do they get information on the movement? How do they get in contact to be a part of this great movement?
Okay. So right now you can find me at wrappedinhope.com and or on Day One Ambition on Instagram, Brandarius Johnson, any one of those platforms you can find me. And if you don't find me through there, just if you put my name in Google, it'll bring up my book or Mental Hope. You can find me. I'm reachable. I'm approachable. I got open arms, open hearts. I'm ready to work, ready to spread the message. I'm ready to go wherever God is pulling me to go, to facilitate this hope and get people from breakdown to breakthrough. That's the most important part.
And he's literally been approachable, personable, all of the abos since day one.
Day one. Each of us and all of us.
Well, and one more thing, to get your book, can you tell us how we can get your book?
Yeah, so go to dayoneambition.com, get a copy of the book. That's dayoneambition.com, DAY, the number one, ambition.com. You can get a copy of the book there. If you go through my website, you get a signed personal copy, or you can go to Amazon, and you can get it through Amazon as well.
Can brothers at the Antidote get a couple signed copies of that?
Come on, man. You know what to do. Nah, it's all love, though, man. It's all love.
So can you tell us a little bit about your book?
So I wrote this book. Man, I mentioned my brand strategist, Johnny Williams, who's a wealth of information, man, for real. A little bit of story before we get to the book. I'm an avid writer. I write a lot of like poetry, skits, just creative reflection. And after we did the run and all the engagement, like, yo, B, you gotta drop a book. You gotta become an author. So a lot of people, I'm not gonna say everybody, a lot of people were starting to come to me and ask me, what's my story? And he said, to prevent you from having to stop and break that down every time somebody asks you that, you get it all out of you and you write the book. So instantly, my focus went to that. We aligned like chapters and segments of my life. And then every day it was like a menu. Every day it was a chapter. And we ended up, completing the book process in 30 days. Where he was like, and I wanted to do it in 10 days like I did the run. But obviously, when we got started, things, got in the way of that. But, Johnny was just like nudging him, like, yo, B, I'm waiting on the next chapter. And then snapped out of it, got back on it. And 50,000 words later, we did it in 30 days.
Wow.
That's good.
And I wrote the book to where, I'll read you some of the chapters. I've already made you aware of chapter number 2, which is My Granddad Told Me. Chapter number 1 is Born with a Purpose. That's talking about my early years, K through 12th grade. My granddad told me it's a highlight of all of those years in which the wisdom I took from him. Tackling my dream was just like a metaphor of me chasing a ball dream of playing professional football. Making the right decision, driven by faith, was done in the dark. The wake-up call, every day is day one, career suicide. Those are just some of the topics that I covered in my book as far as chapters. And then I gave a chapter to each one of my brand concepts and brand shirts so I can kind of highlight where everybody was at. So, if you have any interest in the book, you can go to dayoneambition.com or Amazon, type in Mental Hope, or wrappedinhope.com if you want to get engaged. I hope to hear from all of you. It's been a pleasure and an honor. Big shout out to 702.5 for the opportunity. Troy, Dr. Scott, The pleasure was mine. All glory be to God. And you have a purpose. The world wouldn't spend the same without you. Every day is day one. Let's get it.
I
And well,
appreciate
amen. Amen. We need to take up our offering.
For sure.
that. And Brandarius, we just want to encourage you to keep doing the work that you are doing. And if us here at the Antidote can be of any assistance, please reach out to us. We love getting in the community. We come out, we do things. We're in the community anyway, but we love, being in the community and doing collabs. And
Sure.
to the listening audience out there, if you are interested in becoming a sponsor of the Antidote or would like to appear on a show or have a show idea, please email us at the Antidote hot702.5.com or call us at 702-956-4435. Also, we do accept donations. It does cost for this platform. So if you would like to donate to the Antidote, we can be reached on Cash App at $LV Antidote, ANTIDOTE. And that's pretty much it. Troy, do we have an antidote for the week?
We do. I acknowledge the power of my thoughts. Change starts with me. I'm attracting everything I want. I know that everything is working out in my favor. I'm raising my vibration. My beliefs support my vision. I do more of the things that make me feel good. I put myself in the mindset of already experiencing what I want. I'm receiving a continual flow of insights and inspiration.
Powerful. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with the two of you. I'll be back in studio next week. We'll be with Miss Tamika Henry. So hopefully everybody will tune in, same time, same place next week. If you do want to reach us on social media, the Antidote LV on Instagram and all other platforms is how you reach us. You can reach me on Doc Scott on all platforms and Troy at I am the Troy on all platforms. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other and have a blessed week. And again, Brother Brandarius, thank you so much for being with us today.
For sure. Appreciate the honor, man. Keep up the great work.
All right. Peace.
Peace.